Hello and welcome to the day ahead. It's Thursday, January 22nd. I'm Andrew Gagan. Well, the local market is set to recover from recent losses, with ASX futures up more than 0.4%. Global shares rebounded overnight after President Trump ruled out taking Greenland by force. Now, he said he will make a deal to acquire the Arctic island and will not impose tariffs he threatened on many European countries. On Wall Street, momentum, which had initially driven Wall Street benchmarks higher, ebbed into the afternoon session, with the Nasdaq giving up some of its gains, but nonetheless all finished handsomely higher. Some of the mega caps which had led the tech sell-off in the previous session regained ground, including Nvidia and Alphabet. Netflix fell heavily, having reported a muted outlook in its latest earnings. The streaming giant stock was also weighed by a pause of share buybacks to help fund the purchase of Warner Bros. Discovery's studio and streaming businesses. Earnings and more positive numbers from banks sent the regional banking index up more than 4%, hitting its highest level in more than a year. Charles Schwab rose after reporting higher fourth quarter profit, while Citizens Financial surged on the back of a more than 30% increase in quarterly profit. Energy was among the best performing sectors, with it buoyed by Halliburton, which gained after earnings beat estimates, while EQT and Expand Energy gained as natural gas prices hit a 6-week high on cold weather in the Northern Hemisphere. United Airlines rose after the carrier issued an upbeat outlook for the current quarter and the full year, other airlines benefiting from that positive sentiment. Johnson & Johnson dipped despite forecasting 2026 sales and profit ahead of Wall Street estimates. Kraft Heinz fell after a regulatory filing showed Berkshire Hathaway may shed its more than 27% stake in the consumer company. Well, President Trump has eased tensions over his pursuit of Greenland, stepping back from threats to impose tariffs, but saying a deal was in sight to end the dispute. Writing on his Truth Social platform, he said, "We have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland, and in fact the entire Arctic region. Based upon this understanding, I will not be imposing the tariffs that we were scheduled to go into effect on February 1st. The comments came after the President ruled out taking the Danish territory by force in a speech at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. He said he had tasked Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to take part in the discussions and would make more information available as discussions progress. Well, the proposal to cap credit card interest rates would amount to economic disaster. That's according to JP Morgan Chase Chief Executive Jamie Dimon. He's seeking to provide the President's seeking to provide cost of living relief, and President Trump calling the cap early this month without detailing how the plan would be implemented. Appearing at the Economic Forum in Davos, Jamie Dimon said it would remove credit from 80% of Americans, and that is their backup credit. Meanwhile, in the UK, inflation in December rose to 3.4% year on year, compared with the prior reading of 3.2%. US Treasury yields edged lower, pulling back from multi-month highs reached in the previous session. The US 2-year fluctuated between 3.57 and 3.6, while the 10-year slipped to 4.3%, I should say. And the US dollar index is up slightly on the day. The Aussie dollar is sitting at 67.6 US cents. To commodities, and oil prices have edged higher on optimism around tighter supply after a temporary shutdown at 2 large fields in Kazakhstan and on slow progress in reversing output cuts in Venezuela. Brent futures up 0.5% at $65 a barrel. Gold prices have continued to rise despite President Trump striking a less confrontational tone over Greenland. Spot gold up 1% at around $4,820 an ounce. Copper has fallen 1%, iron ore little changed at $105 US a tonne, and Bitcoin is trading around $90,000 US. The focus locally today will be on December's jobs data, with NAB economists expecting the unemployment rate will be steady at 4.3%. Companies providing quarterly updates today include Fortescue, Northern Star, Regis Resources, Resolute, South32, Sandfire, Santos and Insignia Financial. That is your day ahead. See you again tomorrow.